All right, so it's been a while since I've made a video. I had a really tough time at work, and now I got break. I got summer vacation, and I'm gonna get back to making videos. But I'm going to do this completely unedited, handheld. Enjoy. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this Zip20, this one right here, and we're gonna emitter swap it. And I just thought it'd be fun for some of you guys that have been with me for a long time and have seen me do swaps, and you just kind of want to learn more about the art of modding lights. So a couple things we're gonna figure out along the way here is how to specifically mod this light, but most custom lights work the same way, so this is applicable to other lights, as well as we're going to be taking a look at a 50-50 footprint. So there's this new emitter out called, let's get a focus on this, the FFL505A. It's a domeless 50-50 emitter with a round die. It's really awesome. Has a great, here let me show you, has a great profile for the beam. Let me turn it down so you can see how defined it is compared to the XML2 that's in this light stock. So let me turn that down, and obviously you can also see how greenish this one is, and it's not really that green. It's actually pretty pleasant in real life, but this one is just a rosy, defined, awesome hotspot. So the new Fireflies emitters are amazing. Another reason I'm going to do this mod, I'll show you really quickly, is these lights aren't very high output. They're kind of made a while ago in a time when people didn't really push emitters too much. But if I turn this on to the lowest it goes, let me turn it down. Okay, so let me get started and then back it down. You can see the lowest I'm going to get here, let's go there, is about, I don't know, 3 lumens. And also notice that if I turn it to where it just turns on, this emitter jump starts pretty bright. So you can see it's about a 10 or 8 lumen jump start. And then, at the high end, oh, let me switch it. The high end, 280 lumens. Okay, 280. So that's what I said. These things didn't push a lot. But this one being warm and a round die, it's going to be less. But check this out. If I turn it on to where it just jump starts, right there, I'm already at a lumen. And then I can dial it down, I think, a little bit from there. Not much. Yeah, not much. Okay, but a little bit. So maybe a little less than a lumen. And on the high end, you're getting 200 lumens. So for me, for 80 lumens, it's a win to get a lower moonlight and to get a more defined hotspot. Because that, oh, and it's more candela too. I just want to point out that, at that 1 lumen, so let me just put it right there, at the lowest it goes, that's 1 lumen. Let's get this one the lowest it goes, which, was like around almost 3 lumens. And look how much brighter, right? But it's not that it's brighter, it's just that there's more candela. So yeah, for a little light like this, doesn't put out a lot of lumens, this is the way to go. Okay, so that's enough preamble. Let's get into it. I mean, some people are gonna find that preamble interesting, so just the kind of ethos, if you will, on why you would put a certain emitter into a light or not. So we are gonna take this one apart and make it into this. So let me get you on a tripod here. And as I said, it's unedited video, so feel free to just fast forward if that's what you want to do, get to the parts you want. I'm not putting a lot of effort in this video. I will go back to high production videos very soon, probably in about a week here. I'm going to make a couple, but I just wanted to get going. Now, let me get into my emitters. This is going to happen off screen, but I'll show you them when I get to them. Let's see here. Just to give you an idea, I'm looking through my little cases here of emitters, and I'm looking for my 505s, wherever I put them. Let's see here, where'd I put my 505s? SFTs, 350, oh, these are good. These are great emitters right here. These guys right here, These are the Firefly's 351As. I love those. I thought I would put, maybe I did put them in here. Seems like I'd put them in the same case as those. Let's see what I got here. Yep, I did. There they are. So here's the, yeah, there they are. I knew they'd be in the same case. So let me just set that there for now. All right, so yeah, just to give you an idea, these are the new hotness that are out. These guys, these square ones, these are Fireflies. The Fireflies 351A, these are a 3535, so these will fit where, you know, 519As would be, or, you know, XPL highs. They're about 3750, and they are rosy, man. I mean, they vary. That's the only thing. There's kind of a tint lottery here, but I've never seen one that was green. They're all like -30 to -90. And it depends on the optic too. So there's some optic play in there. And then these are the 50/50s, and they are called the Firefly's 505A. And that's what we're gonna use. So let me get one of those out and cut it off the, there we go. Cut off the reel. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know that, but when you get these things, they look like this. They come on a big reel that looks like a film strip reel. Or maybe if you are used to 3D printing, looks like a filament spool. And I'll cut one of these off. Doot, doot, doot. So there we go. Okay. All right, so what we got is, oh, and also, since I haven't made a video like this in a long time, I mean, yes, I've made a ton of swapping videos on my channel, but you're gonna get, I don't know, a new improved me. What I mean to say is you're gonna see how I do it now. I don't know that it's changed much, but I don't know, it's been a while. Maybe I'll do or say something that you're like, wow, that's not what he used to do. It's probably true. All right, so, all right, let's get this guy going here. All right, so I'm gonna pull that out. And doing stuff on camera is always rough. That's why I don't like doing swaps on camera. Get that under there. Come on, let me bring it up to my face more. Try and get between that film. Holy moly. Let me get between the film and the cellophane. There we go, finally. All right. Whew. That was rough. So I just got between that, lift it up. I like to treat these things pretty nicely because, especially these round die emitters, they're kind of squishy. They're kind of like almost like, I don't know, rubbery or foamy. And if you put too much stress on them, you can kind of ruin the way they look, at least aesthetically. I mean, they might still work, but I mean, you know, you want to look in the head of your light there. See something pretty. Now, like typical emitters, this one should be, the notch on the back should be negative. Let's see if I can get that on camera. See that notch is on the bottom here by my thumb. It's a little notch. Now, I like to test it with this guy. So again, I'm gonna walk you through this stuff. This is the Unity UT16C. You can get this on Amazon. There's a negative side, see the negative right here, and then if I flip it over, see it's positive. So I'm gonna take that negative side, I'm just gonna line it up, and yep, there you go. So I've confirmed that that is indeed negative and positive. So I always like to do that. And by the way, this is a 3-volt emitter, but if I didn't know, let me go ahead and put it on here, start feeding some power, and you can see that it says 2.5 volts there. What's really cool about this is it's going to supply kind of the minimum amount of volts needed to light up the diode. And so a 3-volt, so just take whatever it reads, multiply it by, you know, 50% extra, well, not multiply, but add 50% extra, and you're gonna get the voltage of the emitter. So some 6-volt emitters, you throw them on that diode tester and they'll read like 4.5 volts or something. And likewise with 12-volt emitters and things, they'll read 9. So it's a really cool device for not only figuring out the polarity and testing it once you've flowed it, but just, you know, even figuring out the voltage of emitter if you didn't know. All right, now, I don't care if it's a Zip20 like this, and if you haven't seen one of these, it's just kind of like a Chinese knockoff of a Cool Fall Spy. A lot cheaperly, more cheaply made. Still good lights, they're titanium and everything, but I mean, this is like Pinnacle, and this is just kind of like a cheap knockoff. The driver works differently too, because the STFU driver in the Cool Fall has discrete steps, and you can set it to whatever you want. It's just, oh, watch my video if you want to know about that. Watch my Spy 007 manual video, and you'll see how insane it is. This one is just kind of a dumb potentiometer. You just kind of twist it, and it just gets brighter. So anyways, they look similar from the outside, but that's where the similarity ends. However, I noticed that there was some design cues stolen from this light in the Zip20. Namely, like how you'd get into this is you unscrew this right here, and you can see it almost looks seamless, right? There's just, where's the seam? Over here, it's really obvious. You can see the seam is right there. So I'm going to unscrew this. Okay. Now, I want to point out, I hit the knob here a little bit, that when you're doing modding, you shouldn't like leave the batteries in while you're soldering and stuff. So I want to take them out. But I just wanted to take that head off, and you can see the reflectors in there, and there's two notches if you want to unscrew the reflector. There is a kind of just a mat or a dam right here around the emitter. Let me not hit the tripod a bunch, okay? Oh, dang it. The legs on my chair are hitting the tripod. It's annoying. Okay, so I am going to get in here and remove that. I'm going to have to do it off camera. Sorry, guys. Okay. And in fact, I just realized that I probably shouldn't do it right now. And here's why. Because I do have the batteries in there still, and these are metal. So I could potentially short something. So I'm going to use my own advice I just gave you, and I'm going to pop this off, spill the batteries out, and then start working on it. It's just, okay, let me get that dam out that I was talking about. All right, here we go. Telling you, man, working it with a camera in front of you is the worst. I just pulled it out, and as I was carrying it over, I dropped it because I couldn't see what I was doing. All right, let me find out where I dropped it. Where is it? All right, so the mistake that made me have to edit the video. I kept saying I wasn't going to edit it, and I found it. I dropped it over there. So this is out. Now, we got the light disconnected from batteries, and you can see that this light was already swapped. You can see that somebody had swapped it. Not a very clean job, so I'll try and clean that up. And now, something that we're not going to do today, but I want to explain, is this potentiometer right here. It's actually, I think it's called Hall effect. Somebody can tell me if I'm right or not in the comments. I think it's called a Hall effect sensor. And what that means is there's magnets in there. It's the same way that the JetBeam RRT01 light works, which is there's a sensor that senses magnetic polarity, and this dial has two magnets set into it. As you turn them, it's changing the magnetic field, and that's what it reads to decide what amount of power it should send to the emitter. So if you want to get this off, what I found to do to not mar this up is just take a toothpick, lay it in this channel here, and just start like that. And then when you do that, this thing unscrews all the way, and you can pull, I'll just show you on camera, why not? You can pull this off all the way like that, and then this guy just kind of slides up like that. Now there's a lot of goop in there, and the reason why is because these are not machined well, and they don't slide super awesome. So there's stuff in there called dampening grease, and it basically just makes it feel all good because it's all just gooped up. If the grease dries out or gets rubbed off too much, I just had to re-dampen it, meaning add more grease just now when I received it, because the knob felt super grindy. So yeah, that's just, again, that's very specific to this light, but then yet it's not, because you'll find lights that just have some part that's grinding or grindy because of bad machining. And so then you can just do what I said, just kind of find some dampening grease and use that. All right, so off camera, I just got this lined up where I like it. Okay, so that feels good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the MCPCB out. So I like to use a vise like this. Got this one on Amazon. I like it because it has these big, they're not rubber. I guess I don't feel like rubber, but these big jaws that won't mar the light. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there, okay? Then I'm gonna turn on my soldering iron. And I just reached for a power, I have a power strip back there that feeds all this junk over here so I can kill power to it if I need to. Anyways, the soldering station I'm using, let me reach for it. It's called, well, it's a T3A clone. So you can find this guy, let's see here if I can zoom in and focus. There we go. You can find this guy on AliExpress. It's like I don't know, like 150 bucks or something. So that seems kind of expensive for a soldering station, but it's a clone of like a $500 T3A station. So it's a really good deal. And it comes with all the great features that the original had, like the fact that this, let me come out a little bit, this holder here has a cable and it's hooked up to it. So when you pull it out, it instantly heats up. You can see in the back there, it's at 200 degrees already. So it just reached the 350 I wanted at like in 2 seconds. And the solder on the tip here is already molten. So, and then you put it in and it goes dormant and just starts falling in temperature. So it's an amazing station. There's quick change inserts here. These actually have the heating cartridge in them as well. So if they die, you just buy one of these. They're like, I don't know, a couple bucks each. The clones are a couple of bucks each. I think the official ones, but I don't buy those, are like maybe 18 or so. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unsolder, let's get a good focus on this, unsolder the MCPCB and get it out of here. Now I'm going to try and do it off on the side like this, and hopefully you'll see what I'm doing pretty good. The reason why I'm doing it like that is because I don't want to mess this up, and I don't want the camera in my way. So I got no batteries. I got my soldering iron. I just knocked off, tipped off the solder that I stored on it. In the back here, I'm going to go ahead and, here, let me put it down for a second. I'm going to show you that I have just a plastic tin here of flux. Got my solder, steel wool or whatever that is the one you clean the tip by. You just take it and you go in there like that and kind of rub it around, and it cleans the tip. And having this out is good too, because sometimes you just can't get solder to flow because of oxidation. So you put that acid flux on the solder, kind of eats that oxidation, and then you can make good contact, and away you go. So let's go ahead and get it back on here. I'm even going to show you my technique. I like to take this and I take a piece of solder. I like the thick stuff actually, not the thin stuff. And I just dab in here like this. So on screen I'll dab, 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 like get a little bit like that. Then I'll come over here and I'll just rub it like that on the two blobs. All right, just get a little bit on there. Okay, then I'm gonna get some tweezers here. Let's see if I can do this on camera. I might block the camera because I'm not really looking at the camera right now. Hopefully I'm not blocking it too much. We'll see. Let me come at it. Let me see here. Are we still on camera? Yeah, we're still on camera a little bit. All right, there we go. And then, let's see here. As soon as I do this, I'm sure I'm going to block it with my tweezers or my hand or whatever. Let's see here, did I? You can still see it a little bit. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to heat that up. Okay, hang here 1 second. Heat that up. And once it's all nice and molten, that's when I'm going to pull on the lead. Don't pull before the solder is nice and molten. Otherwise, you're just going to, pull the jacket off the lead. Okay, so there we go. There's one up. All right, I hope that was on camera. I wasn't even looking. Let's do the other side. Now, the other side is a bad angle for me since I'm right-handed. So I will undo the vise, turn it around, try again. Am I still on camera? A little bit. Yeah, okay. And so again, sorry if I'm blocking, but I'm not even looking through the camera right now. Okay, so grab that lead. Solder, okay. Melting the solder. The flux bubbles immediately when the solder starts melting after that. All right, got it up. All right, so sorry if that was off camera, but this is not a soldering tutorial specifically. So you can find one of those if you want. All right, so there you go. I got both leads up and I can pull them out of the way, right? Now, once these leads are up like this, gosh, look at the ends of those leads. They're just like mangled. So I'm going to try and solve that as well. But once this is up like that, let me take it out of the vise and show you how to get the MCPCB up off the light here. So this MCPCB, like most of them, is just sitting there with thermal grease. It's just kind of, surface tension's holding it. Now what I got here is I got a little tool I kind of made. It's just a bent nail really, but then I tapped the end of the nail here a lot so that it's kind of got a little hook on it. And so what I'll do is I'm going to come down here like this, just kind of hook it underneath the MCPCB. Oh, you see? I just pulled it up. And that gray stuff is that thermal grease I was talking about. So I'll just tip it out. Now, notice that whenever you take something apart on a light, you want to, think about the orientation and how you're, putting it together. And the fact of the matter is, this MCPCB is not symmetrical. So note that the cutout was on the bottom, right? So just, you got to note things like that. All right, now let's go to the next step, which is taking the old emitter off the MCPCB. So this guy right here. And I'm not going to clean it up at this point. I mean, it looks kind of gross and everything. It's got all that yellow flux all caked on there. I'll do that after I get this emitter off, okay? I'll clean it up and then before I put the next emitter on. Okay, another thing I'll point out is, let's get a good focus on here, is the MCPCB has notation on it. It says this is negative, you can see right there, and it says positive over there. So that notation is for the leads, right? So black will go here, red goes here. But here's another thing. The emitter will usually follow that. So the negative side of the emitter will go on this side and the positive side will go on this side. All right, now let's take a look at how I'm going to get this off. So I've got myself a hot plate over here. Got this on AliExpress. And this is a great one. So if you see this one, you can just put these names in and get it. I like to set it to 220 Celsius. I'm going to throw this on the top there. And within seconds, that thing will be loose and melted. So don't wait too long. And then just, like about this long is probably enough. And then I will grab it. So not yet. Okay, so I'm gonna wait a little bit. Now, oh, I see this one. This one is getting soft, so that indicates that it's up to temperature. And there we go. So it's off. Lay it down. Now I'm gonna take this one with the tweezers, because again, it's super hot. And I'm gonna set it on this blue mat of mine. So just set it right there. Now the blue mat here is silicone rubber, and it is very temperature resistant. So it's good to have something like that because these things come off so hot. Now, they don't burn, which is great. You can see that some thermal paste is being left behind. But they do insulate a little bit. So if I want this to cool down, I want to be able to handle it with my fingers. What I like to do is once I've, it's cooled a little bit, pick it up and I put it right here on this section of my vise. And then the metal on metal contact, it cools down really fast. So I'd say just in a little bit here, it'll be cool to the touch to pick up. Let me double check right now. Yeah, we're good. Totally cool to the touch. And obviously that was hot enough to melt solder just a second ago. Okay, now I'm gonna do a little cleanup. This thing looks really disgusting. So the flux does kind of come off with alcohol, okay? So what I like to do is I like to use this little decanter here. I got this on Amazon. I put, and then as far as the alcohol, I'm using isopropyl, but I'm using 99% IPA. Let's see if where's the bottle? Oh, here we go. So this is what I'm using. Technical grade, 99.9, so 100% basically isopropyl alcohol. And it's hard to get here in California, something about, emissions. So sometimes you have to look all over Amazon until you can find a seller that's willing to ship it to you if you're in a state that has, strong regulations. And again, I think it's because they're worried about us burning it or something like that. Okay, now, so I got the IPA. Oh, I don't know if I showed that on camera. I don't know if I did, but yeah. So this thing, you kind of go like this, you just push down, and this top fills up. And I just dip it, and then come down to here, and just really get it on there, and kind of rub. And a lot of it's going to come off on its own. However, whoever did this, and you see it's coming off, whoever did this, I used a lot and kind of left it there and probably heated up their hot plate too much. They kind of baked it on. So it gets baked on like that. That's where I use a wooden toothpick and I kind of chip it off. So I'm going to start by just really rubbing kind of hard. See like how gross that looks. So it's coming off. Switch to the clean end. Start again. I mean, this is looking much better. And again, none of this really matters, I guess. It's just my personal pride that I want a swap to clean. I mean, if it works, I guess. But you get to a point where you're good at what you do. See, I haven't chipped anything yet. I just been rubbing it. You can see that it's cleaned up a lot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a wooden toothpick and let's get a good focus for you. And all this stubborn stuff, right? I'll just go like this. Oh, I didn't show you that I'm using a magnifying loupe. I think it's, especially at my age and the fact that I'm farsighted, it's like a must. So off camera here, I'm using a loupe. I will show you in a second once I'm done doing some detail work here. Okay, that looks a lot better. I mean, I'm not going to be too anal retentive about this, but that looks a lot better. And another thing I'll point out is once you've scratched a lot of it like this, you can hit it with the Q-tip again, and a lot more will rub off. So let's do that. Let's get it wet with IPA and just give it another go like this. And again, it's not perfect, it's not factory clean, but that is a lot better than it was. I can deal with that. Okay, so what do I use to do all this detail work with? I use this guy right here. That guy. So this guy's awesome. So there's a lot of different names on Amazon for this model, but this has got a really great arm that goes to my table. It bounces great. The springs are really great. It holds just where, you know, I want it. Turn it, it holds. Bring it up, it holds. It also is kind of cool because it's on a kind of a 4000K color temperature right now. So you can hit this button and it goes like a 3000, like incandescent, or you can get like a daylight temp. But I will go back to what I was. It does dim. You can like bring it up and down. It's like 1200 lumens and you can go lower, but honestly, I found the dimming to not be very good. It dims to like 600 and then goes up to 1200, and that doesn't really look like a big difference. It's not like it goes all the way down. All right, well, that does look a lot better. So we're gonna go with that. Now at this point, you could even optionally remove the solder if you thought that the solder was, you know, bad quality solder, which I mean, maybe it is. So I'll go ahead and show that. The way you do that is you get the soldering wick like this, and you're gonna heat this up and press it in. The solder's gonna kind of go into it like a sponge. Now, when this copper gets all soldery, you know, filled with solder, notice how the MCBCB wants to pick up right now? It wants to pick up because there's nothing holding it, right? So let me show you something else I'll do. I got this thing, jeweler's vise, and I just kind of, I took it, it was a handheld one that was on a handle, but I took it off. So I'll put this in here like this. I'll tighten this on it. Okay, there we go. So it's nice and tight, so it's not going anywhere. Then I'll take this guy, and I'll throw this in here, and then that way it'll just have some clamping force, and it's not pulling up on me. And you know, these little pegs, they move around. So you can put the pegs wherever you want. I'm gonna do it like that. Try and get that little shape. There we go. So that's clamped in there now. So now, when I go to do the same action, it should pick up a lot easier. So I'm gonna heat it up. There we go. Just get nice and hot, and then wick away like that. Just kind of pick it up fast though before it cools. Otherwise you could actually end up soldering the braided copper to the MCBCB. Now, if it gets messy, let's see, am I on camera? Yeah, it gets messy like this. You just take some cutters. Where are my cutters? Oh, there they are. Take some cutters and you just, you know, cut it off. You know, like that. It's nice and clean. You can start again. So anyways, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a little flux on here. So, got the flux on the end of the solder. I know I just cleaned a bunch of flux off this thing, but I'm not gonna bake it on there like the last guy did. Now what I just did is I'm heating through the wick. Not really a great idea. The reason why I say that is because think about it. It's like the MCBCB is not getting up to temperature. So now I have to kind of heat the MCBCB from the backside to get the wick to release. So I didn't actually do it on purpose the wrong way. But as I started doing it and realized that I was doing it badly, I thought, hey, let's talk about this. Okay, now, I'm releasing the wrong thing. Okay, release this. Flip it around so I can get at that other side. Okay, how about like that? Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so what I should have done, which I'll do correctly this time, let me go like this, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing, is I'm going to heat up the MCBCB first. See how that blob is all nice and molten? And I'm going to leave it there for a second so it gets nice and hot. Then I'm going to, see, that was much better. And when you get down to where there's very little on there, don't get too worried about it, because you try to take that off and you're going to just end up sticking the wick to the MCPCB like I did. So now I'm just going to clean up again. Some IPA on the Q-tip. And that looks good. All right, so that's nice and clean. You got rid of those blobs. I mean, there's a little bit left, but I don't care. In fact, I'm going to add new solder. That was the whole point. So now I'll just put this in one more time. Okay, just get a clamp on it. All right. Again, I dipped my this into the flux. I just took the flux and I went dip, 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 dip like that. Got a little bit on there. Flux makes the solder because, again, this stuff oxidizes in the air. The oxidation layer prevents a good bond. So that's what the acid flux does. Okay, so now, hope I'm on camera for all this. I'm going to go ahead and just put some on my tip there. You can see it's loaded with a bunch there on the bevel tip. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put a blob. And then add a little more. Put a blob. And if it's hot, you know, the MCPCB was hot and the tip was hot, it doesn't take long. You can see that got two great blobs there. Okay, so now I'm ready to start doing that. Now, I mean install it and everything. Now, there's also, okay, there is solder on the pad already from the last emitter. Now, the new emitter we're going to put on there does not have any solder. And as I said, there's going to be an oxidation layer, right? And there's all these contaminants. So what you should do is you should use some chip soldering like this. This is the one I use, Chip Quick SMD 291AX. This stuff does dry out over time. So here is the date that I purchased it, or at least it was made. I purchased it a little after that. I purchased it in this year, 24, and this was made in 23. But what I found is I like to use this injector tip, but I just took like a Q-tip and I cut it and I just jammed this in there like that. It just creates a little stopper to help it not dry out. Then I also like to take like a paper towel. Okay, here's a paper towel. And I'll just start the flow. So I'm gonna push on the end. It's a syringe, push it. And when it starts to come out, I just kind of get rid of that first blop. Because that first blop is usually a little dried out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just apply a little bit, kind of like this, all right? Just kind of push it around a little bit. And you don't have to coat it all over. I just added a little. And the reason why you don't have to push it all over is because when this hits temperature, it's going to, you know, go liquid and go where it needs to. So, I don't have to add flux. I don't have to add flux because there's flux in here. So, and I don't want to add a bunch of this stuff because then the flux will actually, there'll be too much and it gets all gross. So with it like that, I am now going to grab my little emitter here. Okay, this guy. I'm going to flip it over and see which side's negative. And negative is down right now. And I'm going to look at the board here. And this is the negative side. So let me go ahead and get some tweezers. And notice, and you know, use your brain here. I'm sorry, I said that was negative side. That says positive right there. So let me flip it around. Use your brain because, you know, the negative and the positive, that's cool. But also look at the fact that there's the soldering pad in the middle, and then there's the anode and cathode on the sides. So these long strips of the emitter have to line up with, you know, those long strips on the sides. So this one with the notch, which is negative, has to line up with this one down here. So I'm going to take it and put it like this. Okay, I'm going to try and do this on camera. Going to grab it like this and then flip it. And as I flip it, that should line up. And then I will drop it. Now, it is sitting there imperfectly on the goop. The goop isn't really spread out or anything. But what's going to happen, though, is when I put this on the hot plate, it's just gonna melt and it's just gonna wanna seek. It's just gonna self-center, really. So let me try and get this. Let's do this on camera, hopefully. Okay, let me get the light in the right spot. Okay, here we go. I'm going to, oh wow, first thing I did is mess it up, right? All right, notice it didn't really go anywhere though, because the chip quick is kind of solid, kind of sticky. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this. Let's see if I can get a good angle here. Let's see if I can. That's not bad, that'll work. Okay, so I'm gonna pick this thing up. Now before I put it down on top there, I'm gonna verify that I didn't really hose this. I'm gonna pick this up, make sure it's still, yep, okay. So just making sure everything was still in the same configuration. All right. Now I'm going to set it down, and you'll see, just in a couple moments here, you're going to see it start moving on its own. There it goes. Here, I wonder if I can zoom in. Yeah, let me get a better focus. There we go. So I guess, I'm sorry that you didn't see it self-center so good, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just tap it. Here, let me get this. Like that. I'm going to tap it, and you see it boing, boing, boing. See how like it wants to go back? So that's awesome. So it's centered. Sometimes I'll lightly tap it, just lightly, just to see if there's any extra that can ooze out. And it did. You see how it oozed out? And the reason why I want it to ooze out is because I don't want it lifted off so much. I want it in pretty good contact. Now, I don't want it to sit here too long because it's going to start baking. So I'm going to pick it up carefully. Once I pick it up, I kind of just hold it in the air for a bit and let it cool down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it on the silicone mat. So let me get the camera, show you where it is. Boop. There it is on the silicone mat. Now I'm going to transfer it over here to the vise. There it is on the vise. Now at this point, it's cool because the metal of the vise is taking a lot of energy out of it. What I'm going to do is there's these little, let me zoom in. There's these little beads of solder that came out when I tapped it. So I'm just going to try and flick them off if I can. They can stay there. That's not a big deal, but I just like it a clean look. Now those are proving to be kind of a pain in the butt. Sometimes they just plop off really easily. These ones are not really moving, so maybe I'll leave them. All right, well, maybe I'll leave it. It's not that bad. Let's see here. You can see it. Let me look through my loop here and see if I just decide. You know, I'm gonna give it, oh, I gave it a little more pressure when I was looking off camera, and they both just both popped off. So that's better. There's a little bit right here too, on the edge right here. So I'm just gonna do the same thing. Cool. All right. Looks clean, okay, nice. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that SMD tester again and always test it, you know? So turn it on. Now, negative is on this side. So I'll come at it like this and test it. There we go, lights up, good. So we know that this is indeed a good flow. Now, another good way to test it is to take your negative side here, take negative and sandwich it between this top like solder blob and the bottom. So you know, touch the bottom of the MCPCB, and if it turns on, that would show that there was a whisker or something going across. You can also do the opposite, so positive to here and negative to the bottom. So again, that's actually probably even the better one, is positive on this side and negative on the bottom. That's really useful when you're doing multi-emitters too. With single emitters, they're kind of hard to mess up, but when you're doing like, you know, a light with 3 or 4 emitters on an MCPCB, that's a great test. Okay, so now that thing's all ready to go. So now all I have to do is put it back into the light. Now, before we do that, you can see that there's a lot of thermal paste on there. And there's enough. There really is enough. I can tell. So I could just put this back in there and just go about my way. But another thing I could do is if I thought there wasn't enough, I could just add some of my own, or you can clean it all off and add your own from the beginning. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to clean it all off. So I'm just literally coming in here with a Q-tip and just kind of trying to mop up as much of that as I can. Now, once I got a bunch of it mopped up, then what I'll do is so there we go. So you can see I got a bunch of mopped up. I'll just toss that, get a new one. Go through Q-tips a lot. I mean, just go through them like they're nothing, because they are nothing, and the light is expensive, and don't cheap out and try and use the same Q-tip over and over and make everything really gross. Okay. You know, I think I will. I'm gonna add a little IPA, because IPA really makes the thermal grease just like liquefy and come loose. Okay, so I got all the recesses there. Don't use too much though, because you use too much, the IPA can go into the holes, get down in the driver. IPA won't really short the driver, but you know, you don't want it all in there. IPA does dry quickly too, so if you do get some in there, just wait a couple minutes, it should be gone. All right, now that it's all cleaned out, I use Arctic Silver. I think a lot of people do. Kind of any thermal compound that's used for a CPU cooler would work, but Arctic Silver's great. So that's what I use, Arctic Silver 5. And then I just take the cap off and get it right. I just like right there. I just do it on it. I don't like use another tool or anything. So I do kind of, when I smash it out, I do kind of like push over like that. I try to get like a line or something. Okay, go ahead and cap that again, put it away. You don't need tons of this, man. You just need enough that when you push it down, there's gonna be a nice layer in between it. Now, if you wanna move it around, let me show you a tip on that. If you wanna move around, what I like to do is I like to take one of my dirty Q-tips and take my diagonal cutters and I just cut off the end of the Q-tip. And that makes me a nice little impromptu tool to push this all around with. So now I can kind of push it around, and it's not absorbent, right? It's just a piece of, you know, wood, really, paper wrapped up. So push it around a little bit. There we go. Okay. So it doesn't have to look perfect. It just has to be there so that it can squish and go between the two layers. As I said, you don't want a ton. A ton is not necessarily good. Now, I'm going to figure out how to insert this. I remembered that this cutout went on the bottom here, but also note that the red lead here would go to the positive side. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this. Again, not looking on the camera. Just going to push it in like that. Cool. So I just did it with my fingers, got it in there. Now it's kind of floating above it all. I'm going to take a nylon tool, so I don't injure anything, and I'm going to push it down. Okay, and I'm just pushing, trying to get it to kind of seat. Now, when this gets hot in use, the clamping pressure of, well, in this particular light, I don't know if it's true, but in some lights, the clamping pressure of the reflector on the centering ring will kind of push it all together anyways, so you don't really have to get too worried about how tight this stuff is. But anyways, yeah, oh. I actually pushed too hard, but hey, that's a good mistake to have. I pushed too hard and the thing flipped out, but look, see how even that is now? And see over here how even it is? So it was making really good contact before I pushed and flipped it out. So let me get in there. Now, I'm gonna be really careful now that I'm doing this, to pull that lead, that negative lead out of the way before the Arctic Silver gets all, there we go. So I pulled that lead out of the way so the Arctic Silver wouldn't get on the end of that negative lead and cause bad electrical contact. Okay, so cool. All right, so it's all in there. Now what we're gonna do is I am going to try and clean up these leads that were a little messy. So I'm gonna put this, sorry I'm doing this off camera. I'm just putting it back in the vise. Here we go. So there we go. Putting it back in the vise like that. And what I'm gonna do is, come on, get a focus. There we go. I am just going to heat up the leads and then use my tweezers to kind of manipulate them and hopefully get them cleaner. Again, I'm going to try and come from the side like this, the side that I'm not soldering from. Get my loop in place. Get this in place, the soldering iron. Oh, it's still, you got a lot of stuff in a small area. Pain in the butt. So I'm going to heat up a little bit. Okay. Sometimes it's good to add flux at this point too. So I will add a little flux there and there. Sometimes it's also good to add some solder to your tip of the iron. It's like you know what, let me clean this actually. So off screen, I'm just kind of rubbing on that cleaning material. You can see that the tip is now pretty clean. Good. Gonna load it with some solder. Now, let me see if I can hold the lead and just, there we go. That one actually wasn't that bad. All the solder was a mess, but the actual strands in the wire weren't so bad. So as soon as I just hit it with solder, it all just kind of glooped together. This black one's a mess though. So what I'm gonna do is I knocked off some of the solder. I'm gonna get a better angle for myself. I'll just turn the light sideways like this and get a better angle. Okay, now I am going to hold the lead by the jacket and just heat up and push, hopefully, the strands back together. All right, that's working. Cool. It's not such a mess anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and solder this bad boy together. So I'm gonna hold it like this now. I'll do the negative first. Now I don't really care whether I do negative or positive first. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, the light's disconnected. I'm going to get a good solder both ways. You know, I got to be honest with you. The camera is annoying the heck out of me. That's why I don't do these videos too often, to be honest. It's just like I want to just, you know, mod without really worrying about angles or anything. So sorry if this angle's not very good, but I'm going to pre-bend this guy, kind of twist it that way, and I'm going to pre-bend it down like that. Okay, so now I can see that it will touch when I do that. Now, you know what I haven't done recently, at least, is I haven't put more flux on those blobs. So let me, again, my little solder here, solder piece with a little bit of flux on it. Coat those. Now there's solder, look, there's a solder blob already there. There's solder on the wire. So I'm gonna just push it down like this, push it into position. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna bend the end of the wire with my tip of the iron a little bit. I want a better angle of attack. Okay, now I'm going to preheat, and I hope I'm on the screen for this, preheat that solder blob, kind of hold it there for a moment, get it hot. Then I'm going to touch the top of the wire and heat it as I push down into the soldering blob. Yep. The thing about an MCPCB is it's designed to wick away temperature. It's designed to take the heat and wick it away, right? So sometimes you gotta hold it there for a second, and I don't think it's a good idea to really raise the temperature on your iron too much. I mean, I'm running mine at 350 degrees C, and you know, I find that's fine not only for the solder I use, but the solder that comes to me from places like Lewintop and Hank Wang and all that. So let's take a look at how I did. So I did on the black at least. I've only done the black so far. There you go. That looks not bad, right? Let's get a better light. Pretty good circular blob, good contact. Let me do the red side now. And sorry again, I'm not going to give you the best seat in the house. I'd rather just get the job done correctly. So let me kind of come out a little bit. And all right. Now, one thing is, being right-handed, I often think about how I'm rotating the light so that I can get these leads, you know, coming in from the left so that I'm soldering from the right. Yeah, everyone's got their own style, but I think it's a good call to like really keep moving the light around. Now you can see I'm pre-bending these leads down, making sure they'll get there. I do not like just going hog wild at it. Okay, now I'm going to pull that lead out of the way. I'm going to get that soldering pad up to temperature on the MCPCB. Now I will push it down. Truth be told, I don't even like where my loop's at. There we go. Move my loop a little bit. Magnifying loop, and I guess technically loops are just the small things for your eye, huh? What are these called? I don't know. Just a magnifier? Well, it's a magnifier regardless. That beep, by the way, you just heard, that was the diode tester auto shutting off. That diode tester does not have an off. So if you pick up the same one I'm using, you just use it and you wait till it beeps on its own. Okay, so I should be good now. Let's take a look. Let's get some better light on it. There we go. It's not bad, right? It's pretty good. Now in this particular light, there is this centering ring / dam that kind of just covers everything up anyways. So I'm going to plop that in there, and you can see that it doesn't really matter if all that cleaning of the MCPCB and trying to make the solders nice didn't really matter, because it's just going to cover it up anyways. All right, now at this point, everything should work, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and test it with the reflector off. So I'm going to be careful, you know, I'm going to put my finger here like this just in case that centering ring falls out. Unlike other side-by-sides, this thing's weird. They do go in series, but most of them, the positive end goes towards the emitter, but this one is different. Like the Synergy is positive end towards the emitter. The 007's positive end towards the emitter. This one is the opposite. And it actually freaked me out when I just tried to put it together today, just a moment ago, because I instinctively put it the way that it should be in my mind, and the light didn't turn on. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Okay, there we go. And I'll go nice and slow on this. Yeah, I don't want to pinch the O-ring. Looks good. All right, let's see here. And boop, there we go. Eureka, right? All right, now the last thing I'm going to do before I close this up is just make sure that the reflector itself Doesn't have needless particulate matter in there, so I like these. I do not like compressed air in a canned air. I don't like canned air. I don't like compressors, actual compressors, because they sometimes have, they create clouds inside them and you get some condensation. So I like these. These are awesome. These little squeeze bulbs, like in photography. And this exact brand is the bomb. This Giotto's. It's got the rocket shape. I'm telling you, it's better than any one I've ever used. We used to use it in the film business. That sound you're hearing is the sound of it going through this little hole. So it just sounds like that when you're squeezing it. But there we go. So I'm just gonna take a visual look with my eye. Yeah, I don't see any major particulate matter or anything in there. Now I'm going to look at this end under the same magnifier. Yep, looks fine. Now, I do like to lube O-rings and stuff. There's an O-ring here, but I do not recommend you lube the O-ring here because it's so close to the reflector and you don't want lube all in there. If you want to put a little bit of light lube on the O-ring itself, only itself, not the channel or the threads, like you want to take the O-ring off with like this nylon tool, kind of get it under there and pick it off, and then, you know, just lightly. That's fine, just for the integrity of the O-ring, you know, keeping it nice and moist. But I would not apply a bunch of O-ring grease or lube near the emitter. So there we go. We're back on. All right. Looks good. Looks centered. Looks clean. See that? Looks good. So that's good. Good, good. All right. So now turn it on. Yeah, there we go. It's nice and low. All right, good. Let's go ahead and measure it. Eureka, we are done. Okay, first off, let's see it on the wall here. Oh, looks good. That looks good. Okay, let's see what it measures. I'm using storage charge batteries, but that shouldn't matter because this thing is not high drain, you know. It's only 200 lumens, right? So it's probably doing less than an amp. Okay, so yeah, if you can see over there, we're reading about a lumen, like I thought. And at the high end, 195. The other one was like 198, right? So that's within the level that I expected. Let's take a read on the Sekonic, and then we'll be done with this video. Oh my gosh, if you watch the whole video, I can't tell you how amazing that is that you think I'm that interesting. Maybe I'm not that interesting, but maybe it was just like a crash you couldn't look away. But I really, you know, want to thank everyone that supported the channel over the years and that shares this love for this hobby. Because there's only a few of us, but you know, there's enough that on the internet we can get together. Okay, so let me turn this light off. Oh, there we go. I have my overheads on still, but I'm gonna kind of go under the table a bit, see that shadow. Let's get some reading here. There we go, look at that. About 3,400, super rosy. Look at the R9, 97.5. Okay, let me go high ramp, let's see what we get. All right, it cools off a little bit and loses a little bit of its rosiness, but I actually like that. I mean, I like when emitters are warmer in the low ramp and rosier in the low ramp, because if you're really just putting out a lumen, you want it pretty much as warm and as rosy as you can get, I'd think. And then as you start pushing more light, I want to kind of neutral out. But what a great emitter, right? Look at that, amazing values. So there you go, man. That's my swap for today, and sorry for the unedited nature of it, but I mean, as I said, edited content is gonna come out. All right, guys, peace and happy flashlighting.